Be sure to come over and subscribe to our other YouTube channel called Grow at Home. Just youtube.com/C/grow at home. Also, if you're on Telegram, follow our channel there. It's just t.me/silver report. So I wanted to talk about these solar storms that they are now warning are about to set off an internet apocalypse that could last for several months. Now this comes out of the University of California, Irvine, and it was an assistant professor, Sangeetha Abdu-Jyothi. In their new research, it was titled Solar Superstorms, Planning for an Internet Apocalypse. And this was last month during an Association for Computing Machinery's annual conference for their special interest group on data communications. Now, they said that this black swan event of a solar superstorm that would be coming towards Earth would prompt an internet apocalypse across the entire globe that would last for several months. And they said, quote, "One of the greatest dangers facing the internet with the potential for global impact is a powerful solar superstorm. And although humans are protected from these storms by Earth's magnetic field and atmosphere, they can cause significant damage to man-made infrastructure. The scientific community is generally aware of this threat, with modeling efforts and precautionary measures being taken, particularly in the context of power grids. However, the networking community has largely overlooked the risk during the design of network topology and geo-distributed systems such as DNS and data centers." So a solar storm, known as a coronal mass injection, or a CME, it occurs when there's a large mass of plasma or highly magnetized particles that eject from the sun. Large CMEs can contain up to 1 billion tons of matter and can get accelerated to large fractions of the speed of light. When the Earth is in the direct path of a CME, the magnetized and charged solar particles interact with the Earth's magnetic field, producing geomagnetically induced currents. These could potentially disrupt communication satellites and long-distance cables to provide the world with the internet. Now, the interesting part is that, again, with these coincidences, that they keep warning about the infrastructure, the global internet infrastructure, and that we could be facing any number of different catastrophes that would lead to a grid down scenario. So according to their research, what they're saying is, get a load of this list, that the power grids, the oil and gas pipelines, the networking cables, they are all the most vulnerable right now to the impact of these GICs. The submarine cables that span hundreds of thousands of kilometers, they're even more vulnerable than the landlines, they say, due to their larger lengths. They said owing to a lack of real-world data on the impact of these GICs on the submarine cables, scientists don't know how long it would take to repair them if such an event would occur. Now, this has never happened yet, but they're saying that everything is primed for there to be a global internet shutdown lasting for months. Just like a lot of these other natural events that are happening, the CMEs are extremely difficult for them to predict, and what they noted was that the distribution of internet infrastructure is skewed when compared with the distribution of internet users, and high-latitude climates are more at risk of a solar storm if it were to occur. Unquote. Now, they said currently, quote, "The U.S. is one of the most vulnerable locations with a high risk of disconnection from Europe during extreme solar events. The intracontinental connections in Europe, they're at a lower risk to the presence of a larger number of shorter land and submarine cables interconnecting the continent. But then a severe solar superstorm, if it were to occur, Singapore, they said, would maintain good connectivity to the neighboring countries, while cities in China would be more likely to lose connectivity than India because China connects to much longer cables. They also added that Australia and New Zealand and other island countries in the region, they would be at high risk of losing most, if not all, of their long-distance internet connections. So essentially, no internet in those two nations. The connection between the zone and the U.S., they said, will be severed. There will no longer be any internet communication between these nations. And they said that a collapse of the internet, even one that lasted a few minutes, could cause devastating losses to service providers and damage cyber-physical systems. They also added that the economic impact of this internet disruption for just one day in the U.S. is estimated to cost $7 billion per day. Now, they said, while the likelihood of a solar superstorm hitting the Earth is rare, astrophysicists, they note the probability of extreme space weather events that directly impact the Earth occurring to be between 1.6 and 12% per decade. But they're saying they still could happen, and now the Earth is primed to see one. I don't know why. To me, I keep repeating that. That's just the kind of communication, the narrative that they're using. Now, in the report, they said that although we have Sentinel spacecraft that can issue early warnings of CMEs provided at least 13 hours of lead time, our defenses against these events are limited. Hence, we need to prepare the infrastructure for the eventual catastrophe to facilitate efficient disaster management. Now, it's just